isn't a grammar problem. It's a speed problem. You don't forget English. You overload your brain until it crashes. Let me say the uncomfortable truth. Most learners freeze because they try to speak like a textbook, not like a human. They reach for advanced sentences first, and their mouth can't keep up with their thoughts. So they stall, panic, and then blame grammar. That's backwards. The real issue is processing speed under pressure, not the number of tenses you know. Quick check. When you speak in your native language, do you build the perfect sentence in your head first? Or do you just start talking and fix it as you go? Exactly. Your native language runs on momentum. English learners kill momentum because they're scared of mistakes. And fear makes you slow. Here's the part nobody likes hearing. If you demand perfection, you deserve silence, because perfection is heavy. It slows you down. It makes you hesitate. And hesitation is what creates that awful blank mind moment. Mini test. Answer this out loud right now, not in your head. What do you do? If you hesitated even 1 second, that's the problem. Not grammar. Speed. I learned this watching serious learners who were obsessed with rules. They knew the names of tenses, could fill worksheets, could explain grammar better than some teachers, and then they'd freeze in real conversation. That's why I keep repeating one point. Real speaking is not the same activity as studying grammar. Real speaking is performance under time. And if you're thinking, but I need more vocabulary, let me stop you. Vocabulary helps, sure, but you can freeze with a huge vocabulary too. Freezing is what happens when your brain tries to do 3 jobs at once: choose words, choose grammar, and protect your ego. Your ego is the slowest part. A short story. One of my learners prepared for a job interview for weeks. Smart person, hard worker. The interview starts fine. Then the interviewer smiles and says, "Interviewer, so, tell me about yourself." Learner, "Yes, of course I am. Um, actually, I have been since I was..." Silence. Learner, nervous laugh. "Sorry. I mean, my background is..." More silence. After the interview, the learner told me, "I knew what I wanted to say, but my brain just stopped." No, the brain didn't stop. The brain overloaded, because what they wanted to say was something like, "I have been working in the field of international business development for approximately..." Trying to sound impressive, trying to sound advanced, trying to be perfect. But under pressure, advanced becomes fragile. One missing word and the whole sentence collapses. So you freeze. Now here's the brutal fix. Stop building tall sentences first. Build strong, short sentences that don't break. That's how you speak fast. That's how you stay calm. That's how you sound confident. In fact, native speakers do this all the time. They don't speak advanced. They speak stable. They keep moving. That's why they sound fluent. And yes, most daily English runs on a small number of patterns repeated again and again. The wall of grammar in your head is mostly fake. Let's make this practical. Right now, you're going to build a 5-line speaking ladder. One topic. 5 simple lines. This ladder is designed to do one thing: Remove thinking time. Topic word, work. Because everyone uses it. Job interview, small talk, dating, networking, immigration, customer service, everywhere. Before I give you the latter, another quick question. When you freeze, what do you do? A. You go silent and panic. B. You restart the sentence 5 times. C. You say, until you die inside. If you picked any of these, good. You're normal, but we're fixing it. Here's the rule. When your brain starts to freeze, you don't search for better English. You drop to a simpler rung of the ladder and keep talking. Momentum first, beauty later. Ladder step 1 is identity. Who you are in one clean sentence. Say it with me. Identity. I work in sales. That's it. No drama, no fancy words. Notice how stable it is. It doesn't collapse. Even if you're nervous, you can still say it. Now, mini test. Answer this fast. Again, out loud. What do you do? Your answer, I work in sales. I work in marketing. I work in healthcare. If you don't know your field in English, pick a simple one for now. Don't act proud. Pride is expensive. Fluency is built with simple reps. And here's a real-life micro-dialogue you've heard 1,000 times. Person. Hey, what do you do? You. I work in sales. Person. Oh, nice. What kind of sales? You. I work in software sales. Simple. Fast. Human. Nobody is judging your grammar. They're judging your confidence. Now you might be thinking, but that sounds too basic. Good. Basic is exactly what you need when your mouth is under pressure. Let me prove it with a movie-style moment. You know those scenes where someone is nervous and they ramble, and the other person just stares? That's what you do when you try to sound advanced. The confident character always uses short lines. Like this vibe. Boss. What's your plan? Employee. I'll keep working on it. Boss. Good. Update me tomorrow. Nobody says, I will be continuing to work on it in the near future. That's not confidence. That's insecurity wearing a suit. So we start with identity. I work in sales. Now, I want you to notice something. This ladder is not grammar study. It's speaking training. Different sport. If you train it like a sport, you win. If you treat it like a school test, you freeze. Next rung is now. What's happening these days? But before we go there, quick shock line. If you can't say one sentence fast, adding more grammar won't save you. It will bury you. So here's your job for the next minute. Repeat step 1 10 times, changing only one word each time. I work in sales. I work in marketing. I work in finance. I work in customer service. Don't write. Don't analyze. Speak. Because speed is built in the mouth, not in the notebook. All right, keep that first rung. In the next part, I'll add the now rung, and you'll feel your speaking unlock like a door that was never actually locked. Now we add rung 2, and this is where most people freeze, because now forces you to think in real time. Remember the rule. When pressure rises, you don't reach for better English. You reach for a stronger structure. So keep your first line. I work in sales. Good. That's your anchor. When your mind goes blank, you come back to it. Now, rung two is now. What you're doing this week, these days, right now. Now, I'm working on a new project. That's present continuous. But I don't want you to think present continuous. I want you to think current focus. That's it. Mini test. Answer fast. Out loud. What are you working on these days? If you don't answer immediately, copy this template. I'm working on plus, a noun. I'm working on a new project. I'm working on a marketing campaign. I'm working on a presentation. I'm working on improving my English. And here's the funny thing. This one sentence can carry you through so many situations without you needing advanced grammar. Real-life dialogue. Example 2. Coworker. Hey, how's it going? You. Good. I'm working on a new project. Coworker. Oh yeah? What kind? You. It's a project for a new client. Notice what happened? You didn't freeze because you didn't try to impress. You stayed inside a simple structure. You gave the other person something to ask about. Conversation is not a speech. It's ping pong. Now, quick shock line. If you keep trying to speak like you're writing an essay, people will feel distance, even if your grammar is perfect. Simple speaking feels warmer. Warmer gets more connection. More connection makes you confident. That confidence makes you faster. It's a loop. But most learners build the opposite loop. Fear, slow, mistakes, more fear. We're breaking that loop with a ladder. You already have identity and now. 2 rungs. You can already survive small talk, introductions, even interviews. Now, before we add rung 3, do this mini drill with me. Say these 2 lines back to back, no pauses. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. Again. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. One more time, faster. Because speed is the medicine, not perfection. Now rung 3 is past. People freeze here because they panic about irregular verbs, or they try to tell a long story. Don't. Rung 3 is one clean past sentence. That's it. Past. I worked at a startup last year. That's simple past. Again, don't call it simple past. Call it one past fact. Your brain needs meaning, not grammar labels. Mini test. Where did you work before? Template. I worked at plus, place, plus, time. I worked at a startup last year. I worked at a restaurant in college. I worked in a small company in 2022. I worked in customer service for 2 years. And yes, if you don't know the exact word, keep it simple. Small company is fine. Local shop is fine. Fluency is not vocabulary flexing. Fluency is control under pressure. Real-life dialogue. Example 3. Job interview style. Interviewer. Tell me about your experience. You. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. Interviewer. What did you do there? You. I worked with clients and I learned a lot. That's not fancy, but it's strong. It keeps you moving. And movement is what kills freezing. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. but my past is complicated. Great. Keep it complicated in your head. Your mouth needs simple. Here's a rule I use with learners. If your sentence needs 3 commas, it's too long for real conversation. Cut it. Now, let's stack the first 3 rungs. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. Say it once slowly. Now once normally. Now once faster. If you feel your tongue start to trip, good. That means you're training the muscle. Your mouth is learning speed. Your brain is learning to stop overthinking. And here's a tiny mindset shift that changes everything. Mistakes don't kill conversations. Silence does. People forgive mistakes. They don't know what to do with silence. Silence makes you look unsure. Being unsure makes you more scared. And then you freeze again. So we don't avoid mistakes. We avoid stopping. Quick question. When you freeze, do you stop completely? Or do you keep going with simpler English? From now on, you keep going. Because confidence isn't a personality trait. It's a skill built from repetitions that are a little uncomfortable. All right, you have 3 rungs now. Identity, now, past. Next, we'll add the rung that makes you sound mature and real. Not perfect, but real. Experience. That's where most people finally start sounding like themselves instead of a grammar student. Now we add the rung that makes you sound like an adult, not a robot. Experience. Because here's what happens in real conversation. People don't only ask what you do. They ask how it's going, what you learned, what you've been through. And learners freeze because they think, I need a perfect story. No, you need one honest line. Experience. I've learned a lot from mistakes. This is present perfect, yes. But again, stop worshiping grammar names. This rung is simply life lesson up to now. It's a bridge from past to present. It makes you sound reflective, confident, and human. Mini test. Answer fast. What have you learned from your work? If you hesitate, use one of these. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I've learned to communicate clearly. I've learned that consistency matters. I've learned to stay calm under pressure. I've learned to ask better questions. Notice how powerful that is? It doesn't need big vocabulary. It needs truth. Real-life dialogue. Example 4. This happens everywhere, especially networking. Person. So how's work been for you? You. Busy, but good. I've learned a lot from mistakes. Person. Like what? You. I used to overthink everything. Now I focus on simple steps. That's a real conversation. That's not a grammar exercise. And the moment you say, I've learned, people lean in because humans love lessons. It signals growth. Growth signals confidence. Now, let me hit you with a mini shock line. You don't need advanced English to sound intelligent. You need clear English to sound trustworthy. Most learners try to sound intelligent by using long sentences. But long sentences under pressure become messy. Messy makes you look uncertain. And uncertainty kills confidence. So we stay clean. We stay fast. Now stack the first 4 rungs. No pauses. Speak like you're texting with your voice. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. Say it once. Now say it again, but slightly faster. Your brain might complain, this is too simple. Good. That complaint is your ego. Ignore it. Ego is the part of you that wants to look smart. Skill is the part of you that wants results. Now, quick check. Which rung feels hardest right now? Identity is usually easy. Now is medium. Past is medium. Experience is where people start to slow down. Why? Because experience feels personal, and personal makes you self-conscious. But that self-consciousness is exactly what creates freezing. So here's the trick. Pre-build your experience line. You don't invent it in the moment. You keep it ready like a tool in your pocket. Tonight, you will choose one experience sentence and commit to it for 7 days. Same sentence, every day, no changes. Because consistency builds speed. Here are 3 experience lines that work in almost any country, any job, any life. I've learned that consistency matters. I've learned to stay calm under pressure. I've learned that simple is powerful. Pick one. Stick to it. Don't be dramatic. Don't try to be poetic. Speak like a real person. Now let's make this more realistic with a high-pressure scene. Imagine you're in an interview, and you get the classic follow-up. Interviewer, what's your biggest weakness? Most learners freeze because they think they need a perfect answer with perfect grammar. Here's the latter approach. You. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. Interviewer. What kind of mistakes? You. I used to overthink and speak too slowly. Now I focus on clarity. That is not perfect English, but it is strong English. It shows awareness and progress. Interviewers don't hire grammar, they hire people. And for daily life, this rung is gold too. Someone asks, friend, how's your English going? You. It's improving. I've learned that consistency matters. Friend. Nice. How do you practice? You. I record myself and repeat. That's natural. That's exactly where we're going in this video. Now another mini test. Answer out loud. What have you learned in the last year? Don't overthink. Even if your answer is basic, say it fast. I've learned to be more patient. I've learned to manage my time. I've learned to keep improving. Good. That last one is actually our next rung, but I'm glad you said it, because rung 5 is future. And future is where your confidence becomes visible. Before we go there, one more retention jolt. If you want fluency, stop collecting grammar rules like Pokemon cards. Train speaking patterns like a sport. You train patterns until they come out without permission. That's what we're doing with the latter. So far you have identity. I work in sales. Now, I'm working on a new project. Past. I worked at a startup last year. Experience. I've learned a lot from mistakes. You can already handle introductions, small talk, interviews, and networking with this. You're not ready because you know grammar. You're ready because you have a system. Next, we add the final rung that turns this from talking about your life into showing direction. And direction is what confident speakers always have, even when their English isn't perfect. Now we lock in the final rung of the ladder, future. This is the line that stops you from sounding like someone who's stuck and turns you into someone who's moving. Because confident speakers always signal direction. Even if their English isn't perfect, you can feel they have momentum. Future. I'll keep improving. That's it. Short, clean, strong. Mini test. Say this out loud, fast. Where do you see yourself next year? If your brain starts searching for a fancy answer, stop. Use the latter. I'll keep improving. I'll keep learning. I'll keep building my skills. I'll keep working on my English. This rung matters because it gives you an exit. In conversation, you don't need to talk forever. You need to leave a strong last line that feels complete. Real-life dialogue. Example 5. Job interview, the classic ending. Interviewer. Why should we hire you? You. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I'll keep improving. Interviewer. Good. Tell me more about the project. Notice what happened. You didn't freeze. You didn't chase perfect words. You gave a structured answer with rhythm. That rhythm is what your brain loves. Rhythm reduces panic. Now stack all 5 rungs together, exactly like this. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I'll keep improving. Say it slowly once. Now say it normally. Now say it faster. Here's the point. You're not training English. You're training response speed. Because in real conversations, you don't have time to compose. You need a ready path. Most learners try to invent a new sentence every time they speak. That's why they freeze. They're building the airplane while flying. You're going to do the opposite. You'll reuse the same structure and only swap small pieces of information. Same ladder. New details. Zero panic. Now let's make it flexible, so you can use it in different countries and different jobs. Swap sales for anything. Identity. I work in healthcare. I work in education. I work in IT. I work in finance. I work in customer service. Now, I'm working on a new project. I'm working on a new course. I'm working on a product launch. I'm working on my English. Year past. I worked at a startup last year. I worked in a small company before. I worked in retail for 2 years. I worked as a teacher in 2021. Experience. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I've learned to communicate clearly. I've learned that consistency matters. I've learned to stay calm under pressure. Future. I'll keep improving. I'll keep learning. I'll keep building my skills. I'll keep showing up. Pick one line for each rung. Don't keep 10 options. 10 options makes you slow. One option makes you fast. Now, retention jolt question. Do you want to sound advanced? Or do you want to sound confident? Because if you sound confident, people assume your English is better than it is. If you sound nervous, people assume your English is worse than it is. That's human psychology. It's not fair, but it's real. And here's another uncomfortable truth. You will never feel ready. Ready is a lie your fear tells you to keep you safe. Real progress comes when you speak before you feel ready. So we need a method you can do tonight. Without teachers, without partners, without expensive courses. Here it is, the 30-second ladder drill. You're going to record yourself for 30 seconds. Just your voice is fine. No video, no pressure. Step 1. Say the ladder once at a comfortable speed. Step 2. Immediately say the ladder again, faster the second time. That's it. 30 seconds. 2 rounds. Why does this work? Because the second round forces your brain to stop editing. When you go faster, you don't have time to be ashamed. You just speak. And that is exactly the skill you lack in real conversation. Speaking without over-editing. Most learners are stuck in editor mode. Editor mode is useful for writing. It is deadly for speaking. So tonight, your drill looks like this. Round 1. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I'll keep improving. Round 2. Faster. I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I'll keep improving. If you make mistakes, good. Keep going. If you stumble, don't restart. Keep going. If you pause, don't apologize. Continue. Because remember, mistakes don't kill conversations. Stopping does. Now another mini test. You're in a coffee shop and someone asks, "Barista, how's your day going?" A learner freezes because they think they need a creative answer. You don't. You just need an easy line. You. Good. I'm working on a new project. Barista. Nice. What kind of project? You. Work project. I'll keep improving. Even that works. It's not poetry, but it's natural enough to keep the conversation moving. And movement is the real win. Now, if you want to level up the ladder one step further, add one extra detail after any rung. One detail only, not a paragraph. Example. I work in sales, software sales. I'm working on a new project for a new client. I worked at a startup last year in Berlin. I've learned a lot from mistakes, especially communication. I'll keep improving, one step at a time. One extra detail makes you sound real. Too many details make you slow. So your mission right now is simple. Choose your 5 lines. Write them down. Then record the 30-second drill. Next, I'm going to show you exactly how to do the record once, don't judge, repeat tomorrow method so you don't quit after day 1 like most people do. Now here's the part that separates people who improve from people who stay stuck for years. How you practice without destroying your confidence. Because most learners do this cycle. Practice once. Hear mistakes. Feel embarrassed. Stop for a week. Start again. Repeat. That's weak behavior, and it's exactly why you freeze in real conversations. You trained your brain to associate speaking with shame. We're going to flip that. Your rule from tonight: record once. Don't judge. Repeat tomorrow. Not because positive vibes, and because it's practical brain training. Judging yourself turns on fear. Fear slows you down. Slow creates freezing. So we remove judgment during practice. Here's the exact method. No theory. Do it tonight. Step 1. Write your 5-line ladder on your phone notes. 1 line per rung. Example: I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I'll keep improving. Step 2. Open your voice recorder. Set a timer for 30 seconds. Step 3. Record 2 rounds back to back. Round 1, normal speed. Round 2, faster. Step 4. When you finish, do not replay it. You heard me. Do not replay it tonight. This is where soft people fail. They immediately replay, cringe, and quit. That's not practice. That's self-harm. You're not recording to judge. You're recording to create a daily speaking habit. The improvement happens tomorrow, not in the replay. Mini jolt question. Do you think athletes watch every training clip the same day and cry about it? No. They train. Then they repeat. Repetition builds skill. So tonight, record it, save it, close it. Then tomorrow, you do the same drill again. After you record day 2, you're allowed to listen to day 1 for 10 seconds only. Just the first 10 seconds. Not to judge. Just to notice one thing. Speed. You will usually hear this. Day 2 is smoother, even if it's still imperfect. That tiny proof keeps you going. Now let's make this even more effective. Because if you only repeat one ladder forever, you might get bored. So you'll rotate 1 rung at a time. Do not change all 5 lines. Change only 1 line per day. Example rotation plan. Day 1. Baseline ladder. Day 2. Change now line only. Day 3. Change past line only. Day 4. Change experience line only. Day 5. Change future line only. Day 6. Back to baseline, faster. This keeps your brain alert without overwhelming you. Another retention jolt. Your brain freezes when it has too many choices. So we keep choices small. Now, I want to address the biggest lie learners tell themselves. I freeze because I don't know enough grammar. No. You freeze because you try to build sentences while speaking. That's like trying to cook while your kitchen is on fire. The latter makes the sentence-building decision before the conversation happens. That's why it works. Let's prove it with a fast role play. Read both parts out loud. Yes, both parts. You need to feel the rhythm. Role play 1. Small talk at a party. Person. Hi, what do you do? You. I work in sales. Person. Oh, cool. What are you working on these days? You. I'm working on a new project. Person. Nice. Have you done this before? You. Yeah. I worked at a startup last year. Person. What was that like? You. I've learned a lot from mistakes. Person. So what's next? You. I'll keep improving. That's the latter in real life. It's not robotic if you say it naturally. It's only robotic if you speak like you're reading a textbook. So here's how you make it sound natural. Add tiny human connectors. 1 or 2 words, not a speech. I work in sales, actually. I'm working on a new project right now. I worked at a startup last year. It was intense. I've learned a lot from mistakes, honestly. I'll keep improving for sure. Those small words make you sound like a real person. They also buy you micro time without silence. That's important. Silence creates panic. Micro connectors keep flow. Now, another mini test. Answer this in 5 seconds. What do you do and what are you working on? Your answer should be, I work in Hochkag. I'm working on Hoch. If you can't answer in 5 seconds, you don't need more grammar. You need more reps. Now I'm going to give you a rescue phrase for when you blank out mid-sentence. This is what fluent speakers do when their brain glitches. They don't panic. They reset. Rescue phrase. Let me say that again. Or even simpler, sorry, one more time. Then you drop back to rung one. I work in sales. This is powerful because it removes shame. You're not frozen. You're controlling the conversation. Real dialogue, example 6. This happens in real life all the time. You. I'm working on a new, you. Sorry, one more time. I'm working on a new project. That's it. No panic. No apology essay. Just reset and continue. Here's another shock line. Confidence is not speaking without mistakes. Confidence is speaking while mistakes happen. That's what you're training. So tonight, your action plan is locked. Write your ladder. Record 30 seconds, 2 rounds. Do not listen. Repeat tomorrow. And if you want a bonus level that makes the drill twice as effective, stand up while recording. When you stand, your voice becomes stronger, your breathing improves, and your brain feels more active. Sitting often makes you sound timid. Timid voice increases anxiety. Again, practical, not motivational. Now, in the final stretch, I'm going to give you the closing mindset that stops freezing long term, plus the simplest CTA that actually gets results. One recording, no judgment, repeat tomorrow. Good. Now we close this the right way. Not with motivational quotes, but with something you can actually trust when your brain goes blank. Freezing feels personal, but it's mechanical. Your brain is trying to protect you from embarrassment, so it slows you down. Then you panic because you're slow, and the panic makes you even slower. That's the loop. Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to keep the loop from starting. And you already have the tool for that. The 5-line ladder: identity, now, past, experience, future. When you walk into a real conversation, you don't need courage. You need a path. Because courage is emotional. A path is reliable. Here's what I want you to remember the next time you freeze. You are not failing English. You are just stuck in editor mode. Editor mode is the voice in your head that says, say it better. Don't make mistakes. Find a more advanced word. Don't sound stupid. That voice is not helping you speak. That voice is making you silent. So tonight, we kill editor mode with speed. And speed doesn't mean talking like a machine. Speed means you don't pause to judge every word. You speak. You adjust. You keep moving. That's how real humans talk. Even native speakers restart, change words, simplify mid-sentence. They just don't panic about it. If you want one sentence that explains the whole video, it's this. Fluency is not knowing more grammar. Fluency is staying calm while you speak. Now I'm going to give you a final practice that takes less than 2 minutes and will change how you feel about speaking. It's simple, but most people are too weak to do it consistently. Don't be most people. Tonight, do this. Open your phone notes and write your 5 lines. Keep them simple. Keep them true. Then record 30 seconds. Round 1 normal. Round 2 faster. And when you finish, do the hardest part. Don't judge. Not judge a little. Not listen quickly. Don't judge at all. Because the moment you judge, you turn practice into punishment. And punishment creates fear. Fear creates freezing. That's how people stay stuck for years. Instead, treat it like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth once, look in the mirror, and cry. You just do it again tomorrow. That's it. Now, here's the confidence statement I want you to take into your next conversation. Say it to yourself before you speak. I don't need perfect English. I need moving English. If you remember nothing else, remember that. Moving English gets you through interviews. Moving English gets you friends. Moving English gets you opportunities. Perfect English is a fantasy that keeps you quiet. And one more truth. People don't fall in love with your grammar. People connect with your energy. When you speak with momentum, even with small mistakes, you sound alive. When you hesitate and apologize and restart 10 times, you sound scared. And fear is contagious. So decide what you want to give people: fear or direction. Now, let's do a final, quick, live run together. Read this out loud as if you're meeting someone new. Hi, I work in sales. I'm working on a new project. I worked at a startup last year. I've learned a lot from mistakes. I'll keep improving. Good. Now do it again, faster. Don't restart. Don't fix. Just flow. That second run is what trains your brain to speak under pressure. That second run is what kills freezing. And here's the best part. When you do this for even 7 days, your brain stops seeing English as danger. It starts seeing English as routine. Routine creates calm. Calm creates speed. Speed creates confidence. Confidence keeps you talking. So, if you're tired of feeling stupid, tired of blanking out, tired of watching other people speak while you stay silent, stop begging for confidence and start building it like a skill. One ladder, 30 seconds, every day. Final line, and I mean it. You don't freeze because you're bad at English. You freeze because you're trying to be perfect. Drop perfection, keep moving, and you'll finally sound like yourself. Now your CTA is simple and clear. Record yourself once tonight. Don't judge. Just repeat tomorrow. And if you want more scripts and practical drills like this, follow the channel and keep training with me.